You've probably noticed that technology is advancing at an incredible rate. But what you may not know is how technology has changed business management. You'll want to continue watching to understand how business management is changing due to technology and what you can do to get ahead of the curve. By the end of this video, you'll understand how technology has changed the way that businesses are structured, and you'll understand the benefits and negatives of data in modern day business. First off, let's define business management. It's simply all of the functions that are required to run a successful business. Now, I mentioned earlier that we're going to talk about how businesses are organized differently due to technology. As more and more technology is implemented in most organizations, what we're noticing is a flattening of the organization chart. Now you need less complex structures to manage teams because most people are reporting into some form of technology. It's easier to track what people are doing, so you don't necessarily need 3 managers to manage 3 different teams. It might be possible to bring them in under one umbrella if they have all the technology needed to keep all their functions in order. You've probably noticed that technology automation has made businesses leaner. Have you noticed that maybe the company that you work for, or even the company that you own, you're having a little bit of an issue getting all the talent that you need through the door? This is a global issue. Even before the pandemic, you've probably seen or experienced something in an organization where maybe there's people that leave the organization, or maybe they fire someone, or they eliminate positions. Well, the work for that position usually doesn't totally disappear. Maybe because of technology, rather than that position taking 40 hours a week, maybe it now only takes 17 hours a week. Well, now that your job duties have been shortened by the technology that the company implemented for you, you're not working as many hours, so then they put the 17 hours from that other job on you. The result of organizations using technology that makes them more efficient is the hiring of less talent. So let's fast forward now after the pandemic. We're seeing this interesting combination of some organizations not being able to find enough talent. Meanwhile, other organizations are having to lay off because they had so many people they hired during the pandemic. This is especially true in technology organizations right now. As a result, the workload of these ghosts, the people that used to be at the organizations but are no longer, the people that are needed to fill these organizations but aren't there, the workload doesn't go away. It's just being added on to other people. But I think we all know that typically a 40-hour job can't just be layered on top of another 40-hour job. But we are getting technology that's making us more efficient, effective, and connected. With that having been said, it means that we can actually lessen the amount of positions we need at many different companies. And so technology is making companies considerably leaner. One of the more fascinating things for us to observe, in my opinion, is the shifts in attitude pre and post pandemic. When I think about how people viewed the automation of jobs pre-pandemic, for the most part, a great deal of it was frowned upon. I remember when McDonald's announced the kiosks that they were putting in some of their locations, or when we started to see more of the self-checkout lanes inside of grocery stores. Overall, most of the sentiment was fairly negative because they felt that these technologies were robbing people of jobs. They felt that people were going to be automated out of work who really needed those positions. Now, post-pandemic, what we're seeing is when there's a labor shortage, people are grateful for that technology being in place. They don't mind talking to chatbots as much. They don't mind using the kiosk for fast food because otherwise they know that they'd be in a long line. And so observing these shifts and changes on how people view technology lets us know what's going forward. It's easier now than ever before for businesses to automate because there's no negative PR attached to it. I would love to hear how you feel about all of this technology automation and its impact on business management. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do you think this is spelling doom for society? Or is it opening up new opportunities for upskilling and new trainings? Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to read them and comment and have some conversations in the comments below. One of the most significant ways that technology has impacted business management is by providing data. We now have access to more data than ever before in history. And in fact, we call this big data. It's what's used for machine learning And the purpose of collecting all of this data is so that we can make more strategic decisions going forward in our businesses. Because oftentimes what we think is the case or what we think our customers need is not in fact what they need. Let me give you a story to illustrate this point. A few years ago, Walmart hired a group of data scientists. They were interested in learning when a hurricane is coming for the coast of Florida, what items are people most likely to buy at a higher percentage increase than they normally would buy any other time of the year. Now, this is a study that was near and dear to my heart because I live in Houston, Texas, and we have hurricanes as well. So here's what Walmart did. They hired the data scientists, and the data scientists took weather information for the last 5 years over that part of Florida. And they also looked at all of the Walmart store sales data over a 5-year period and compared the data from the dates when there were storms to the sales dates within that Walmart. I want you to ask yourself a question. You're going to use your imagination, and if you've never been through a hurricane, it's going to take a little bit more imagination for you. If a hurricane is coming, you see that you're in the cone where it's likely to hit. You're running to Walmart, and you need to get the supplies that your family needs. What's one item that you think is being bought at the higher percentage increase over other times? I'm curious. Take a moment to think about it. You're probably thinking something like water or batteries or toilet paper, and all of those things are just too logical to be true. If you have a sense of humor and you live in Texas like me, you might say something like beer, I don't know, or wine. That's not true either. The item that saw the largest percentage increase in sales in Florida in times of a hurricane approaching, believe it or not, are strawberry Pop-Tarts. Strawberry Pop-Tarts. Gotta admit, they're pretty yummy. They're yummy. Now, if Walmart was using their logic to figure out which items should they stock up on at a greater amount during storm season and by how much, if they were just using simple logic, strawberry Pop-Tarts would not even be on the radar. But the truth of the matter is the data tells the truth. What's even more interesting is if you were to ask the average customer if that's the item that they buy at a larger percentage increase, none of them would say strawberry Pop-Tarts, but it's true. So humans are not only not logical, but we're not always aware of how we react in different situations. This is why data is so important in our businesses, because oftentimes we think our clients or customers need something, or we think that our employees desire something, or that something's an issue, but until we get the right data, we don't really know if we're making a strategic decision or if we're just going on a hunch. We just talked about how technology ushered in big data and how that changes how we make business decisions. As a result, it has both improved and destroyed customer service. For instance, when we think about all the technology that's been implemented, let me ask you a question. The last time that you had an issue with a telecommunications company and you called them, was it a good experience? Did you get to talk to someone immediately? The last time you had a challenge with a company and you had questions for it, maybe it's some type of technology that you're using and you go to their website, were you able to easily call someone, or did you have to go through a chat bot where you're just waiting for the 3 little circles to finish so that the message actually pops up? That's actually making customer experiences worse. In some ways, technology and big data have made the customer experience worse, but in other ways, it's improved it. For instance, I don't know if you're into gaming, but one of my clients happens to be one of the largest gaming organizations in the world. And they know everything about their customers. It would shock you to know how much information they're tracking on these little cards they have now. Because remember, once upon a time, you come in there with dollars or quarters or whatever else, and you get on the slot machines. Now they know everything about you. They know the games you're playing, how long you're in different positions. They know which rooms you're checking into. They know what food you're eating. As a result, they can customize experiences completely for you online and in person, because many of them have online gaming options as well. So let's put it aside whether you think gaming is a good or a bad thing, but the point of the matter is that they're able to create customized experiences. Some hotels do the same thing. Some clothing brands do this, where they already make recommendations of clothing based on your body shape because they know what you normally buy. And so data and technology improvements have both improved and completely destroyed customer service in other areas for the time being. I have a feeling we're going to see a pendulum swing, Part of the reasons we get frustrated with chatbots or even with those automated voices we hear when we're trying to reach different departments is because they're not smart. They're dumb. They're not using generative AI and they're not trained on huge amounts of data. And so as technology gets even better, they'll be able to answer questions more concisely and get us to where we need to go faster. We're actually already starting to see that with some banks in South America that have adopted chatbots that are not like the normal chatbots we use here, but they've loaded them with so many data points that what they're finding is their customer service scores are improving dramatically over when the customers actually had to speak to humans. So when you take all the things that we talked about today and put them together, obviously technology is having a pretty major impact on business management. And it's going to continue to have some pretty dramatic impacts. Maybe in ways that you can see, maybe in some ways that are slightly unforeseen at the moment, but I want to help you be able to better predict where it's going. As such, I have a free gift for you today. I have the Future Ready Playbook all ready for you. It's a workbook that's full of worksheets as well as activities that'll have you thinking differently about business management, entrepreneurship, and even your career in the future. We want to start thinking strategically so that we get ahead of the curve instead of waiting for the future to land on us. To get your copy today, go under the description and click on the link.